Hello and welcome. So excited. Hey there, Candace. You are joining from DC area. Well, welcome. I see we have Moji on. I see we have Dr. Erica Steele. Hello there. I see we have two Dr. Erica Steele. Hello there. Always wonderful. I'm so excited. Moji, where are you joining us from? And then Candace, are you in the medical field? And if so, are you RN, NP, ND, MD, or are you a teacher or artist? What impact are you making here in this world? We always love to know that as well. So drop that in the chat. Austin. Oh, I love Austin. Austin's right down the street from me. I'm in Richmond, Texas, so a suburb of Houston. So yeah, you're not far from me at all. I love Austin. Oh my gosh, I need to make a trip to Austin. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and get started here. And so excited that you guys are joining us here on a Sunday night. We know there are tons of things that you could be doing, and yet you chose to spend your time with us. And we appreciate that. And we don't take that for granted because we know that time is our most precious, one of our most precious commodities. So that being said, welcome to well, here's the thing. I would say the immune systems class, which doesn't sound sexy at all, doesn't sound fun or, interesting so much. But class is actually entitled, this training is actually entitled, Why Your Body Feels Inflamed, Why It Feels Slow, Why It Feels Drained, and How to Build a Body that can actually keep up with your life. Okay, we will be talking about the immune system and how that plays a part in it. We'll be talking about peptides and peptides that can help support that. But this is actually part 3 of our 3-part series. So just a little bit of housekeeping, if you will. Again, welcome. If you haven't dropped to where you're from, I think you have, but if you haven't dropped it in the comment section or the chat section, please do that for us. And we are jumping into, again, if whether it's you or whether it's your patients or your clients, if you're feeling inflamed, or if you're noticing inflammation, if you're experiencing brain fog, fatigue, feeling slow, like sometimes it's slow to process, maybe even puffy, maybe even slow to move, feeling heavy legs perhaps, feeling puffy, feeling depleted, any of those things. If you're having any type of autoimmune symptoms, if you're having any type of gut dysfunction, all of that, you guys, believe it or not, is tied to the immune system. Okay, and so we're going to unpack that with you for you tonight and really help you connect some dots. That's what our aim is always for, is to help you connect the dots so that you can give your body understand what's going on, and then give your body the support that it needs so that you can feel like yourself again, because that's what we want. And as I mentioned, oh wait, I didn't mention this. Everyone will be on mute. So that doesn't mean that we don't want you to communicate. We do want you to communicate. We do want to hear from you. And the way that we communicate in this forum or in this setting is you guys use those emojis or those reactions liberally. So a thumbs up or a heart, or if something lands with you, put wow or whatever. You can type in the comment section, use the reactions or the emojis, use the comment section. If you have a question, don't wait to the very end. Type it in right then and there. One, because you might forget potentially. And two, we want to try as much as possible to answer your questions in real time. So if for whatever reason you type a question in and we don't see it immediately, just give us a sec. We're going to come back to the chat. And before we end our time together today, we will definitely make sure that your questions are answered. So ask as many questions as you want. And like I said, use those thumbs up and hearts and all the different emojis to express what it is that you're thinking or feeling as we're going through this information today. So that being said, again, this is part 3 of a 3-part series, and it's really created to help you feel like yourself again. If you were here for part 1, which is all around metabolism, it was around weight loss and metabolism. Drop a 1 in the chat. I want to see who's here. If you were here for 1, St. Lucia's in the house. I see that. Yeah, okay. You were here. Yay. Of course you were. If you were here for part 2 of our 3-part series, which was 2 weeks ago, it was all around hormones and the hormone cascade and how it plays a part in, well, a lot of things that I just mentioned. In fact, weight loss, it plays a part in everything. So if you were here for part 2, drop a 2 in the chat. Let's see who was here for that. And FYI, if you missed it, we can certainly get that replay out to you. Just type in replay. So type in replay 1 if you would like the replay of the metabolism and weight loss training that we did. Type in replay 2 if you would like the replay of the hormone cascade that we did 2 weeks ago, in fact. And here we are all here together for part 3, immune system, why your body feels inflamed, slow, and drained, and most importantly, how to build a body that can actually keep up with your life. So that being said, you guys, most of you know me, but I want to just quickly do a brief introduction, and then I'll introduce Dr. Steele, and we will hop into all the juiciness for tonight. So that being said, I am a former ICU nurse turned functional medicine trained holistic health consultant and the founder of Green and Gorgeous, where I primarily work with high achieving women to help reverse their diabetes and type 2 diabetes specifically and hypertension so that they can fully reclaim their health, mind, body, and soul. I am also a business strategist and business coach for those for clinicians that are in the holistic health and functional medicine space, so that they can create a business that they absolutely love that supports their life and not the other way around, their life and their dreams and not the other way around. So that being said, that's a little bit about me. Dr. Erica Steele is with us today. Hey there, Dr. Erica. Hello. Dr. Erica Steele is a board certified naturopathic doctor. She is also the founder of Holistic Life App, an innovative wellness platform that combines technology with personalized integrative healthcare. How about that? With over 20 years of experience in holistic medicine and 7 degrees in her field. She is a thought leader in holistic medicine. And with that being said, as I mentioned, part 1, metabolism, part 2, hormones, part 3, immune system. And this is where it all comes together, right? This is where when metabolism falters or fails, I would say, hormones fall out of rhythm. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. And then when hormones fall out of rhythm, the gut breaks down. Right. And when the gut breaks down, the immune system loses its way. So everything is connected. And I know that when we do these trainings, we kind of segment them into like immune system and hormones. But remember, we just do that for ease of explanation, if you will. But I just want to point out that every single thing is connected. So if you're having issues with your metabolism, you're likely having issues with your hormones, which is also affecting your immune system, or vice versa. So everything is connected. Let us not lose sight of that. Our bodies are resilient. They are incredibly resilient. However, they can only do so much. And when we start to see compensation in one area or overcompensation in one area, it affects the whole body, mind, body, and soul seriously. So that being said, I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Erica Steele so she can explain to us how this all fits, how this all makes sense, what it is that's going on, and how it is that we can support our bodies. Dr.
Yes,
Erica Steele.
right. So thank you so much. I absolutely love sharing a stage with you and having discussion. So great to also have everyone in the room and those people that are really excited about even catching up with the replays and watching that. I know a lot of my people, they are going a mile a minute, and replays are really important. So, hey, Candace. So, another thing I want to mention is that I remember you said like the immune system isn't sexy. And I'm going to push back on that, okay? Because in functional medicine, when I went to training, there was two routes you could go. It was more immunology, right? Like more gut health, or it was more like functional neuro, and you were like more chiropractor kind of going in that field, right? And so, understanding this piece, like this was literally like the foundation, the brick, the bringing it all together. And a term I want to teach you guys right up front is down regulation. Right. And what do I mean by down regulation? Right. So we've talked about metabolism. Metabolism is pretty much just processing the food we eat into energy. So when we're at the top, we're eating, right? Our food source, our environment, all of that needs to be healthy in order for us to be healthy. And we need to balance it. And there's all kinds of different things we could talk about ad nauseum that impact that, right? So again, it's not a one size fit all approach. approach. It's a very complex situation. And really, this, for me, it's always about access of information. I feel like we all are entitled to having, as objective as we can information in real time so that we can truly make our healthcare decisions for ourselves and really be, our own independent person. Um, Down this rabbit hole of immune system and autoimmunity, right? We get into obviously the mental and emotional side of it, the not trusting self, the picking self apart, the judgment, and all of that. So we're going to suspend all of that. for this evening and really get down to brass tacks in terms of solution. Even prepping for this class, I got all excited because again, like this is one of those things. So if you guys have any questions as we go along, please feel free to put them in the chat so that we can go over them. All right, let's see. Here we go. All right, so here we go. So we were talking about that healing flowing from the inside out. We are talking about that down regulation. Charyse did a really good job of kind of wrapping that rhythm up and how it breaks down in the gut. Remember, 80% of your immune system lives in the gut, and we're going to get kind of a window into why that is this evening. So when we begin to heal the lining of our gut, that's when our immune system begins to heal. So down regulation, right? So the most of the immune system is housed in the gut because it separates self from non-self. What do I mean from non-self? The things outside of your body, right, that may be harmful, or not, bacteria, food, viruses, heavy metals, chemicals, mold, anything that is not self, okay? Self meaning cells, tissues, organs, organ systems, right? And so that's how we build up from little cells. And so as we go down regulation from what we're eating, we break down in the stomach where mostly we're breaking down our proteins. Remember, proteins help our body to repair and heal. We get amino acids like lysine and leucine that builds carnitine, which helps us break down fat, helps us with fat building. So we'll talk about that. And then our carbohydrates need B complexes, need folic acid, and lipoic acid in order to break that down. Now we're just in we're just in the stomach. We're not in that absorption in the small intestine. So now when we get into the gut, so there's a gut lining, right? So we want to make sure we have a stable blood sugar. We want to make sure our stress response is in order. All of those things. And stress can be triggered from internal stress, like what we're about to go over, as well as external stress. So making sure that we balance all of that. And so, our lining of our GI system is pretty resilient. It can handle a beating. In that particular lining, though, what you don't see is lots of nutrients. So B complexes, folic acid, glutamine, zinc, biotin, all kinds of nutrients that make that lining up. And so it gets exposed, it starts to break down, and then those cells begin to separate out. And unfortunately, now where those toxins or whatever those things are that are non-self would have been, contained, now it's no longer. So now it's leaking down into and circulating into the bloodstream, creating systemic inflammation. If you've ever had joint issues, joint pains, things like that, that's very common because it's a down-regulated issue. But also, too, we see with post-COVID, a lot of the gut brain, fog, that sort of thing that we'll talk about as well, which goes to compromise. So even though this is not a diagnosis, right? Remember, diagnosis is just nothing more than a sophisticated labeling system. I'm teaching you how the body functions and how the body works. And as you begin to understand how your own body works and begin to tune in instead of tune out, then you'll begin to heal thyself. So in order to tune in, there's 4 problems that we're going to kind of focus on. Now, of course, we can have all kinds of different challenges, but these are the 4 that we're going to focus on in the beginning. So Do you have anything to add, Charyse, before we start on our four? Yeah, there we go. So, number one is our gut foundation. So, we always want to start with blood sugar, even though it may seem like a periphery issue. If you don't have stability with your blood sugar is going up and down. A lot of times, what stabilizes blood glucose is protein. So, we see protein deficiencies, we see breakdowns within the upper GI. So, that's the first challenge we're going to discuss. The second one, I'm really excited about presenting the peptide for this one, when the immune system becomes overactivated. And that's when a lot of infections, think Epstein-Barr, think post-COVID, think various other infections, sepsis even. Think about those types of infections with the SIBO, where the immune system is overactivated. And then we're going to discuss that long COVID brain fog when you got sick and you just haven't felt like yourself. You haven't been able to recover and you're still kind of holding that in the brain. And we're going to talk about that series of peptides for that application. And then autoimmunity as well as repair. When again, once you've worked on all of those things, or even in the beginning, right, clearing out those things and taking out the trash so that your body has just the ability to heal. Because sometimes if we have too much within our system that it just can't contend with, we need to clean it out so that our bodies can do what it already knows how to do. So we'll jump right into our first challenge here with healing the gut and the immune system. Remember that gut lining begins to break down. Those toxins can enter the blood. They can be all kinds of toxins, viruses, heavy metals, chemicals, you name it. We are exposed to who knows, right? I remember when I would do, these really deep autoimmune tests. Oh my gosh, the things we would pull out of babies, children, like it just the skin reaction. I can go on and on and on. And so the immune system becomes overactivated, systemic inflammation, and it just becomes this loop cycle. So GLPs and GLP-1s, while we may not think that, oh, these would help with the immune system, if you have an unstable blood sugar, really you don't have a stable immune system, in my humble opinion. So, anything you want to add about that, Charyse?
No, I was just saying, I was echoing what you were saying. It's absolutely true. So
Yes,
yeah.
yes. One of the things too that I want to kind of focus in on is the glycine of it all. And so the glycine, while it may not be a direct, meaning it can't be peer reviewed and backed, right? I have seen in my experience a lot of success in that rebuilding those tight junctions of the GI system. I think the stickiness of that amino acid really helps. There's just been some really good data in terms of that particular amino acid, which would make it a really strong contender to really help if you're trying to heal the gut lining while you're working on your blood sugar and your blood sugar stability. So remember with GLPs, you can also get a micro dose of those. I've also was looking at some pretty good new research on the cardioprotective benefits of GLPs, and there are definitely some immune system and autoimmune modulating responses with the GLPs and the GLP-1s, especially with the trizepatide as a combination. And so again, as we'll talk about today, we're always towing the line in holistic medicine, right? And this is, really the impact of where we are in space and time and colonization, where, we know that there are things that are good for us and that help us heal, right? However, sometimes the access of those things can be challenged, or even the validity of those things can be challenged. So we just want to, again, give you the information, and I love to give you the science of it all. And so you can start to make those connections. By no means it's a fast response. There's prep work involved in a lot of these things, the diet, the water, the food, the things that you don't want to do. right? You go, oh, like give me the thing, right? And we just really want to stress there is no one thing that does it. There are a multitude of things. However, this is a very powerful tool, I will say. Appetite suppressant, lowering those food noises as well, especially if you've gotten into those unhealthy eating patterns and cycles. Because no matter what, remember that upregulation, it has to be corrected, meaning that you have to be eating 80, at least 80% healthy for this to work effectively. If you are consuming garbage, things that are not nutritious. If it's God made, eat it. If it's man made, stay away from it. Real easy. If you can pick it, grow it, eat it with reason. If it is processed, man made, chemical laden, you can pretty much assume that your immune system is not going to be able to recognize it. And I know, again, we find ourselves in a very interesting intersection where our food would be food. However, there's some food-like substances running around. So it does, again, that upregulated immune response. If you're eating, let's say an apple, right? And you're thinking, oh, this is an apple that I just went out here from the tree and picked, right? No, that's an apple that's been processed and sprayed, and your body can't interpret that information, and those things build up over time. So and that's even if you're eating 100% healthy diet. And that's why we're seeing more and more with people that are reasonably healthy, right? With having blood sugar issues, kind of out of nowhere, seemingly. So, before we move on, anything else you want to add to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple of things because you shared some terminology, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows or is clear on what the terminology is. And so you may have heard Dr. Erica talk about GLP-1s and GLP-1 GIP. So the difference, for those of you who aren't sure, is GLP-1 it works on one receptor, and you may have heard it as semaglutide. GLP-1 slash GIP works on two hormones, two receptors, and that is tirzepatide, as Dr. Erica mentioned. And so those are just two different peptides, and they're still considered to be in the GLP-1 category, although, like I said, one of them is a dual agonist versus a single agonist. The other thing I wanted to mention, because you mentioned the cardioprotective benefits, but there's also tons of neuroprotective benefits. And for those of you who are of a certain age, no, seriously, if you're over 40, I mean, we know
Yeah.
this. If you're over 40, your estrogen levels, your hormone levels in general are starting to decrease and decline. And with that, that's why you often, have the brain fogginess or the forgetfulness and the things that are associated with higher estrogen levels. And so, one of the things I just want to mention is the neuroprotective as well as the cardioprotective benefits of GLP-1s, GIP. Whether it's at a microdose level, which is just a smaller amount, or whether it's at the weight loss level or the weight loss dosage, I should say. I've had, those of you who've been on here, I've had tremendous success with GLP-1 GIP, which is tirzepatide, because so here's the thing, and I always like to make this distinction because it has been marketed as the skinny shot, right? And I think it's unjust. And because we think, oh, and this was my opinion because I was so much against this particular peptide, because I thought, oh, you just skinny shot. So the minute you stop taking it, you're going to gain the weight back, and that's just stupid. You're shortcutting everything. And so here's the thing: until I start to dig deeper, it helps to increase your insulin sensitivity. It helps to decrease your inflammation. All of these things are working against you when you are trying to release weight, release fat, right? And so that's one of the, again, you don't hear it really marketed as such. You don't really hear it articulated, but that's why people are having such great success with losing weight. It's because of the things that's happening on a cellular level with the decreasing of inflammation. Because if you're trying to lose weight and you're highly inflamed, oh, your body's not prioritizing weight loss. It's like, no, we've got other things to take care of, So I wanted to add that. And then the other last thing I wanted to say about the glycine. Glycine is also amazing for muscle preservation. I've seen. I usually customize my terzepatide with L-carnitine, but you can customize it whether microdose or a weight loss dose. You can customize with glycine or B12 for energy. But glycine, I've seen amazing reports of just improvement in sleep because glycine helps with your sleep. So it helps with muscle preservation. It helps with your sleep, and it also helps with energy too, but not as much. But it also helps with cognitive function. So memory, focus, so all these great benefits that with glycine that I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned
Yes.
because there's so much. But I'll
Well,
turn it back
and
over to
again,
you.
yeah, these are amino acids. So amino acids
Yeah.
again are the building blocks. You know, these are, and so many people have difficulty just breaking down their food properly, right?
Mhm.
So the mechanisms of action here, it slows that down. And I think sometimes where people get stuck on them is they don't do the pre-work. Right,
Yeah.
that's required. And they also don't have maybe an off ramp or even protocols in place and oversight. These are not plug and plays. You know, these are actually rather heavy hitters in comparison, and there is a little bit of a runway if you want to get the long-term benefits. Right. If again you're looking for a short-term quick fix, I wouldn't recommend it, but
I mean, it'll work, but yeah, like do
we
we?
all
But
have
we're
free
not
will.
here for that. We're not here for
Right,
that, right?
right.
We are
We
here
all
for long-term health.
absolutely. We all
Yeah.
have free will. And so, but understanding that, again, when used properly, these really can be such a game changer for so many people. I've seen just in the short period of time that even I've worked with this particular company, I've seen just some amazing results that we'll get into. Okay, our second challenge here is when the immune system has lost its sense of direction. So again, I talked about like Epstein-Barr. I've treated a ton of patients with Epstein-Barr. So mono, the kissing disease. I actually got that as a kid, and it's not fun. And a lot of times people have long-term immune system activations and reactivations, and then you throw COVID on top of that, right? And it just becomes what we call this cytokine storm. I don't know if you guys remember that from the 2021 era. I think everybody was a virologist, I think, at that at that time. And so really what's happening with that body, that T cell function dysregulation. So remember that T cells are part of the immune system. They help strengthen, they help repair. And so that surveillance, remember, so all those white blood cells, you've got a whole army. If you think about kind of how our military works or doesn't, we have, the Navy, we have the Army, we have, all the branches, the Marines, we have all of those going out, right? And so they're a little bit too thin. We've put our soldiers too far out, and so we have some chronic low grade infection patterns that are showing up. Wow, this really fits to our kind of real world
Doesn't
phenomena.
it? Kind of
So
scary.
right, I mean, exactly. I'm like, wow, this analogy is really actually working oddly well. And so obviously, if you catch colds, I mean, I would get patients off, especially in family practice. I'd get families that would have cold after cold after cold. I mean, and we'd end up, it'd be mold in their house that they didn't know about, or it'd be, again, that pattern of cytokine storm where the immune system doesn't recover, right? Because you've got mom who's working, who's got the kids, who's got the husband who's going a mile a minute, right? Who's trying to just survive. And so again, getting sick and sick and sick and not having that recovery time that we so need. A lot of us know what to do, right? Whether we actually do it or not, debatable. So most people don't stop. And I'm hoping that people get to this point, but they stop the first day, they're not feeling well, they cancel everything, they sleep, they go to bed, they take care of themselves. No, unfortunately, capitalistic society, most people are working. So we want some support, right? And I will say, so from a regulatory perspective, which we'll get into later, this baby is in jail right now, which is so sad because it really shouldn't be. And we'll discuss that a little bit later on in the presentation. Anything
I
you
want
want to add before I flip?
Yeah,
So
just one thing I want to add for those who might be struggling with autoimmune
Mm,
issues, symptoms,
right.
rheumatoid arthritis, things like that. Thymosin alpha 1 has been shown to do miraculous things in terms of um, supporting your body, decreasing flares, that type of thing. It's I would, you know what, I think next time we run this, I'm going to actually just grab some clips,
Right.
and yeah,
Well,
because
I actually have another slide that I was going to present later, but I can throw it up
oh
now.
no, yeah,
Yeah, because I actually pull, the ones that we had some regulatory challenge, I
mm-hmm.
pulled the data on. And this one has been well studied in about 35 other countries.
Yeah,
Applications for chronic viral infections, as well as sepsis, hepatitis B as well. This has been very well studied, very, very safe. There's also human trials for this one. Some of them we don't have human trials, which that's where some of the regulatory issues kind of come in play. But this one is really, and again, I have another slide dedicated because there's a little call to action from the people on the call, because unfortunately, when these things get in jail, we need public support to
yeah,
be able to push these things through, simply because legislators are legislators. They're not providers. They're not healthcare people. And so they need to hear the general public's conversation. So a lot of times when things get regulatory, and I think I actually got one patient through on this before they shut it down. And so this one, again, those chronic infections, right? I would have patients that would have mold from 20, 30 years, right? And so what happens is that the cells, right? The mitochondrial breaks down, the fatty acid oxidation starts to happen, inflammation, chronic anemia, so these are things, again, it just creates this storm again and again and again. And conventionally, there's no solution, right? It's management, it's patching it up. Right. And so if we have more of a direct pathway, why not? Why not simplify it? Right. Why not give people the support that they need, especially with everything going on? So
yep.
yeah, so I have another slide. I will kind of just touch on it at the beginning or at the end, right? And so also too, I have another separate slide for these babies because again, these are really helpful, especially that neuroinflammatory post-COVID and that cognitive recovery. So many people, again, are exposed to so many things, and are not aware of them, unfortunately. We have a lot of environmental deregulations, corporate deregulations, and so I may have to do a whole thing just on that because it really knowing and understanding what is in your local environment is going to be very important, especially moving forward. So if you've gotten sick and you just haven't had that recovery, a lot of times that post illness immune dysregulation, because all of those gut micro biotics, right? So your probiotic, all those microbes in your microbiome, they help with immune system modulation, but also, as we saw, they also help with nervous system modulation. So a lot of these are doing multiple duties, right? But then if they get overtaxed, what happens is it's going to deprioritize, if you will, one area, right? Which is why a lot of times people have joint issues because the joints aren't really a priority when we're talking about, let's say, a heart or a lung or something like that, right? And so this also too for people that can't catch their words, mental fatigue after simple tasks, and lingering sense that something's off. Now, I would not use these as like a precursor to, let's say, dementia or Alzheimer's, or those are different issues altogether, right? This is more of exhaustion, fatigue. I've been working really hard. I'm burnt out. I'm under nutrient. Instead of
Yeah.
under babied, I'm under nutrient. And so those things are happening within the system. Not to say that obviously there can't be some application, but just so we know kind of how we're using it. Anything you want to add with that?
The only thing, excuse me, another thing I would add is with CMAX. So we have C-Link, and then we have CMAX. And I don't always get them confused, but people always ask me, like, how do I tell the difference, or what's the
Right.
difference, whatever. So I always like to compare, just to kind of, help you remember
Yes.
CMAX, as if you recall. And by the way, this is nasal. These CMAX and C-Link are nasal sprays. So is synapsin. Some of the other peptides that we talked about a second ago
Right.
are injectables.
Mhm.
Some of them come in an oral form, but CMAX, C-Link, and synapsin actually are nasal sprays. But
Mhm.
I like to compare, or I like to talk about CMAX in the context of, if you ever watched the movie Limitless with
Mhm.
Bradley Cooper. It was actually a really good movie. I thought about watching it again. It was a really good movie, and it's a fictitious drug that he ends up taking.
Mhm.
But what he experiences from taking this particular substance is that he has his executive function is like turned on, his focus is,
Right.
he learns a language
Right.
really quickly. So CMAX, you can compare it to that, but here's a bad thing. In the movie, once he has to keep taking it, otherwise he gets
Right.
really, really ill. That's not the case here, not at all. I just want to make that
Yeah.
distinction.
Yeah.
But it has been studied for its role in supporting,
Right.
like I said, brain processes. If you're having a lot of mental demand, again, executive function, boosting
Right.
executive function, focus, mental clarity, that type of thing, memory,
Right.
um, or just overall cognitive function. So yeah, I just want to add that
Yeah,
about
and
CMAX.
again, I have, because these are some of the ones that are semi-jailed. So I have
Yeah,
another
yeah.
slide later on, that will break it down a little bit more, between the GABA modulators and what GABA is. GABA, again, down regulation, helps you to relax, helps you chill out, and then the cognitive function, right? More is like that fertilizer, not like an espresso, right? That's why these are
That's
not
good.
for, right. These are not for, um, again, severe cognitive decline issues. This is more of kind of like, I'm burnout, I'm worn out, I need to, and the last one, kind of that rebuild back up. So I'll kind of clear it out a little bit more, as we go along. Okay, so the fourth one is the immune system is attacking the wrong target. Again, remember, self versus non-self. And so what happens is the body starts to then misfire and starts to attack itself, hence the autoimmunity, right? The body doesn't understand what's its own tissue versus what's not. And so we don't, these things drive me nuts. That's heavily marketed. Like, we're going to boost your immune system, right? Well, if the immune system is already overactivated, right, the last thing we want to do is boost it. We don't want to rev it up. Instead, we want to suppress that fire. So, what's actually causing that fire to light to begin with, is really what we want to discover. And so that's why the glutathione NAD. And here's what I love about glutathione NAD: these are very forgiving, right? You don't have to know, right? I was exposed to this at 10 and 12 and 15 and 8. You don't have to, right? Glutathione, master antioxidant to the system. Vitamin C, lipoic acid back it up. Very powerful on the system. I like to say it kind of gathers the trash up, and then it works in tandem with its partner NAD. Very strong, again, antioxidant and cellular repair coenzyme. And so, again, the glutathione kind of gathers the trash that NAD takes it out. These are phase 2 liver modulators. What does that mean, right? Your liver's broken up into 3 kind of phases. Phase 1, toxins are entering. Phase 2, toxins are moving from one side to the other. And then finally, phase 3, it's moving from the second side out through the kidneys, right? And so that's why a lot of times patients will have all sorts of kidney issues too, because it's a down-regulated response. So it goes from, our digestive system to our liver, stomach, liver, small intestines, and then it's going to channel out either large intestines or our kidneys, just to kind of move things out. So tissue damage can happen from chronic oxidative stress, like we were talking about the joints, right? Because your body's systemically attacking itself, because those joints are have space in them. So when toxins leak through into your bloodstream, they don't have really anywhere to go but these spaces. So they get in these joint capsules, and then your body starts to attack them, and then inflammation begins to happen. So joint pain, skin flares, mystery symptoms symptoms. Conventional protocols only suppress the symptoms, and in fact, oftentimes make them a lot worse. Like I said, I have patients that come in, man, especially in the derm world, they'd come in, with stacks of what do they call this? Steroids, topical
Oh
steroids,
yeah. Yeah.
and having to detox these poor babies from topical steroid misuse, overuse is just a tragedy all in of itself. And so skin issues, especially if you're having those, again, that's a downregulated issue. What's a skin issue? Eczema, psoriasis, even just a little bit of dry, patchy skin, right? All of those things, because your skin is a secondary drainage pathway. So those are clues that, hey, maybe I need a little bit of a detox, if you will. So, anything you want to add about this one? All right, so the ordering process is really simple. I have a lot of oversight with my people. I'm sure Charyse has some as well, and I love working with this company because this kind of serves like a medical director for me. I'm not a prescriber. I never really wanted to be a prescriber. Honestly, the liability is insane. And so I would, and the complicity in some cases. But so what I like is partnering with a 503A pharmacy that's a high standard grade pharmacy. So they handle everything for us. They're the compounders. And so simply put, when I have a recommendation on a case, I do kind of that pre-work on the case, and then I use them as a consultant, and we work together. They are super fast, super professional. I've had great results with them. Yeah, I mean, just excellent company, great education, great resource. And it's really, for me, it's about access these days. Like, just getting people the information, right? And getting people the access, that's always something as we fight in colonization, access of, just healthy food, right? Access of herbs, access of water, access of, and so we just want to be able to share and open up, access for these amazing tools. So, and then anything you want to say about that? And then I'm
Um,
gonna
oh
flip.
my gosh, there was, and then it just slipped my mind. You talked about access. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Access. Because everything that we've shared, not just today, but even in the other two trainings, all of the peptides that we've shared, they you can find them like on a gray market. And I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this into
Right.
the room because I don't want anybody out there to be deceived. I don't want anyone out there to be hurt. Really, that's the biggest thing.
Right.
Because when the reason why Dr. Erica and I love this particular company is called LEMD, and it's because of the level of purity and potency and third-party testing and it being compounded in an NABP a certified pharmacy, which is gold standard.
Right.
Because it matters, right? I don't care if it's you're taking an injectable or a nasal spray or oral.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You
Absolutely.
want to make sure that you know where you are
Right.
sourcing things from, and that's why, like, we both absolutely love this particular company. And what I was going to say too, in terms of time, y'all, I ordered something. Was it a Wednesday? No, it was. Yes, it was a Wednesday evening, and got it Saturday. So it's like, woo, woo. Actually, I've gotten a Friday before. I've even gotten a Friday. My
Right.
most recent thing that I ordered, I received it on a Saturday. So very, very quick. And you have access to a board certified,
Right.
provider that through your patient portal that you can ask questions of. So you're not just winging it and ordering some stuff off of a sketchy website. You don't know, there's no accountability in there or anything. So that's
Right.
important. That's important.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because so peptides, if you haven't noticed, is a trend, right? And I've been in this field for so long. Eh, Before it became a trend, before we had grifters, before there was wellness influencers, there was little uh what is it, scholars like myself who were
Little
studying
scholars.
right, rigorously and trying to understand against all odds how to heal and help the people, right? And so now we've come into, an era of the world where there is massive misinformation, and there is not a lot of oversight. And so that's something too that's really important for me for safety, which is why I check these things. And so I'm going to flip over because I created a couple other slides stack just for this particular reason in terms of our regulatory standing. Again, so that the audience understands kind of our position, where we're at,
Yeah,
all those fun things.
good stuff.
Let me here we go. Okay, cool. So, what does it mean to be, a 503, 508? That's pretty much how the peptides reach the patient legally, right? So they have to be compounded by FDA approved standard. There's a whole bulk list. I'm not going to get into all of the categories, right? We don't need to get into that. But understanding that there are some of them that are in category two, that's that BPC 157 and the TB 500. Those are in category two. What does that mean? Meaning that they are in jail right now. They can't be released until July, and they're under FDA advisory committee review. I will be looking at that a little bit deeper. I just kind of quickly scanned it or whatever. Here's what I'll say is that um, ironically, we have a very favorable administration to these peptides. So more than likely it will go through, right? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we need to use your discernment when you're working with providers, when you're working with people. If there are people that are selling these peptides right now, right? Just know that how they got them is probably questionable, simply because the restrictions, legally. Now, with that being said, right, there is a case for all of these things, which I wanted to kind of go over with you guys as well, because I've mentioned this to Charyse as well. I trained in IV therapy and IV clinic, all that kind of stuff, and we would go through this all the time,
We've been here before.
all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah,
Like it just, oh, okay, we got to change this, oh, we got to change that. And so that thymosin alpha 1, right, has, again, we were talking about, approved in 35 countries, right, for chronic hepatitis B. So it has a very strong antiviral pedigree, right? It's been used clinically for sepsis, ARDS, and also a chemotherapy adjunct, which is amazing. Also, too, some new research came out with genetics for breast cancer. And there are certain breast cancers now they're saying they don't have to go through chemotherapy. So I'm really interested to see kind of a potential application there. And so it's kind of a little bit in the orphan category, meaning that they don't know where to fit it to be able to regulate it, because it's all about the AA dollar at the end of the day. We are in a capitalistic society. It's not really about the health of the people. I apologize. I didn't make the rules, but I'm just letting you guys know. So this one again, again, immunomodulator. So it's not a stimulant. So people's immune systems typically are already overtaxed, obviously, if they have multiple infections. So I'm really excited to see how this can really assist in immune system training, especially for those people, again, post-COVID. They've done everything, Lyme disease, right? Which creates so many different issues, lupus, various different autoimmune. I see so much trash canning of autoimmune diagnoses, meaning they don't know what it is. So they just kind of, whatever the closest label they
right.
can get in. And that's why I don't practice on labels, diagnoses, because it doesn't really help people heal at the end of the day. Anything you want to say about this one?
The only thing I was going to say is Lyme disease. I was actually on a recent training, if you will, and someone who had Lyme, or actually a couple of people who had Lyme disease,
Right.
and they had taken thymosin, or they were currently taking thymosin
Right.
alpha 1, and night and day. I mean, like just
Right.
the relief, because there hasn't been anything really that could support them at this
Right.
level. So yeah, it's a shame. This isn't. We could go on and on about
Oh,
FDA approved things, and
right,
listen,
right,
I have a love
right.
hate
Well,
relationship with FDA, because most of the things that are in your on your kitchen cabinet right now are not FDA approved, like your
right,
protein shakes and your
right,
creatine and your half the
right,
supplements that you're taking aren't FDA approved.
right,
Yet, are they helpful?
right,
Yes. Do you feel a
right.
difference? Yes. Are they harmful? No.
Wow.
So, we won't go into
Well,
FDA approved,
well,
but I think it is important that
right,
we,
right.
bring this up, bring this awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Charyse, you must not know about the new FDA approval these days.
Well,
Didn't you hear about all you got to do is just be like, hey, well, you got to send somebody a text message, right?
send
Hey,
someone a text message,
hey, hey, what's up? I've been
and then it gets approved. Is that
It's,
it?
yes,
Get
exactly.
out.
It's a miracle. So I really, I'm speaking it into existence.
Yeah.
I am very positive that I'm sure this one will get through. It has a lot of back data with it,
Yeah.
so it's not something that's coming in pretty blind. So I'll keep an eye out for you and definitely keep everybody informed. Let's see. The other one, again, like I love doing these classes because then I get to kind of dig in more. And so again, the Slank, I love this. So this is kind of in the same category as a benzodiazepine, right? So like a Xanax, right? But without the fog. Okay. So when you take it, well, I'm telling myself. So at a certain point in my life, I took a little Xanax. And so especially with executive functioning, right? So I had complex trauma, right? And so what happens with executive function with complex trauma, right? So you go through school, little bookworm, right? Then you get out of school, and as a doctor, you're like Grand Central Station, okay? You have 1,000 people coming to you and everybody wants your opinion and everybody's asking you 1,000 questions and you may or may not know the answer, but don't mess up. Okay. So
Right.
the stakes are really, really high. And I found that again, my executive function would break down. So I'd have moodiness, right? I'd have frustration, anger, like it wasn't pretty, right? And so right, not wanting to be on a, what do you call them? SSRIs, right? So when
Yeah.
you get on like your Zoloft or your Prozac, it flatlines you, right? You're not high, you're not low, you're just there. Okay. So
Non-existent almost.
right. I'm
Yeah.
not like a just there kind of person. Like I can't really do that. I'm just checking in. So I said, all right, I'm gonna self-manage. Don't try this at home, folks. So again, I was a doctor. I'm a doctor, and so working with colleagues, right? Benzodiazepine. Had I would have had something like this, right? It would have been so much easier because again, I just needed to take that little bit of fog off, right? That little bit of anxiety off, right? Because it wasn't that my brain wasn't firing, it's just it wasn't getting to where it needed to go. And thank God for biofeedback, neurofeedback, and neurostem and all that stuff. All
Mhm.
right, so CMAX, I love this fertilizer, not espresso, right? It helps with that neuroplasticity. So if you are one of those people who unfortunately have family history of Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, and you have zero symptom, okay, zero symptom. This would be a good thing to start again building those nutrients within the brain, that preventative way ahead. And so we don't even have to go into that. Remember, down regulation. So by the time a person gets those complications, it's because it's hit through the metabolism, the hormonal system, the immune system, and so that neurology. The last one that snaps. So this is actually a combination, which is really fun. It's ginseng with NAD and a B12 combo. So this is actually what we would consider a peptide stack, but it's all in one. And this one again, this helps that cleanup. It helps kind of we in applied psychophys we call it brightening the brain. And so when your brain needs just a little bit like almost like you have that fog on the front of your what is it, your
Windshield.
headlights
Yeah.
on
Oh,
your
yeah.
car. Yeah, and you need just kind of like a little bit, but that's what this is good for. This is almost like a good finisher with everything. Naturally, if the ginseng is too much, you'll want to be mindful of that with that. So again, a lot of times we get into those cytokine storms with COVID, and that's because of all the rapid infections. So it's not a one and done, right? And a lot of these chronic infections, and long-standing infections and autoimmunity, people want them to be one and done, and they're not. We have to kind of peel back these layers. We got to add a little bit of this, remove a little bit of that, and it really becomes a very synergistic, but also a really holistic care plan. So, did you want to add anything with?
No, I was gonna no, I was gonna add a couple of things when you finish wrapping this up.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
for
So,
tell people kind of self-identify
yeah,
where
yeah.
they are right now. You want me to
Right,
do that
right, right.
now or wait?
Right. Yeah, I'll jump back to our other one. Hold on one second. Then we'll kind of finish it up here. And if anybody has any questions, feel free. If you have
Oh,
questions afterwards,
the chat has been kind of quiet tonight, which
we've
is
been
interesting.
we've been a chill chat.
I
Um,
know, I know.
So, three takeaways just from tonight. We want to heal the gut first. So, 80% of the immune system, again, lives in that gut lining. So, if you struggle with autoimmunity, yes, you can get into a lot of symptom management, but at the end of the day, if you don't heal that gut lining, it's going to be rough. So, want to make sure that we keep intact. We also want to train and not suppress, right? And so that's why we want to break the thymosin out of jail, because it really is just an amazing solution for a lot of people. So really excited to see what happens with that. And then remember, inflammation is information. So if you have inflammation, I always say, people are like, oh, inflammation, the root cause. Actually, it's a symptom. And so if you are experiencing inflammation, that's where that glutathione, NAD, take all that trash out, really, really helps clear that load so the body can just do what it already is designed and absolutely knows how to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
hope.
that's so great. So thank you, Dr. Erica. Just everything, every single piece of this has been so informative. And I know that those of you that are on, whether you're on live or will catch the replay, you're probably in one of two camps. One of them is, okay, I am absolutely clear on what I need to support my body. And if that's you, just drop the word order, or actually drop the word clear. Drop the word clear in the chat. If you are clear, like, okay, you know what? Okay, I know I need some CMAX. I know I need the glutathione. I need to, whatever it is, right? So if you're clear, just drop the word clear in the chat. And then if you're not quite clear, if you're like, I think, but I do have some questions, so I'm leaning towards one or two, three or four things, whatever. You can drop the word consult. Drop the word consult in the chat if that's you. Okay. And the reason why I'm having you do this is because if you're clear, what we'll do is whoever invited you to the call, whether it's me, whether it's Dr. Erica, whether it's someone else, we'll send you a specific link so that way you can order whatever it is that you need to order for yourself. Okay. We talked about the ordering process. When you go in, you'll click the link. You'll click the particular peptide. A medical questionnaire will open up, much like the one when you go to your doctor. It's going to ask you, what's your past medical history? What's your past surgical history? That type of thing. What type of medications are you on right now? And then once you submit that, it goes to the provider in your state and to review it. And if there's anything that's contraindicated, they will not order it for you or they will not prescribe it for you. But if there's nothing contraindicated, excuse me, if there are no contraindications in your medical or surgical history, then they'll prescribe it for you. They'll send it to the 503A pharmacy, and then the pharmacy will compound it for you. And within like 2 to 3, okay, technically they say 7 days. I've never seen it take 7 days, but within up to 7 days, it will arrive at your doorstep. So again, type in clear if you're clear on what it is that you're wanting, so we can send you the link. If you're like, not too sure, got some questions, I'm wondering X, Y, and Z, drop the word consult. I see your consults there, and your clears there. I drop that, and so what we're offering is complimentary 15-minute health consults where we really help you identify, which of these peptides where your body's struggling and which peptide could absolutely help to support your body. And so that's the first thing. And then we'll recommend a peptide if it's appropriate and help map out a clear personalized next step for you. This is not a like a pressure call. This is really a clarity call, so that you're clear on what would best support you based on what it is that you're experiencing in your body right now. So, pardon me. So that being said, definitely want to encourage you again, drop one of those words if you didn't, and then connect with the person who invited you to this particular training so that we can guide you through the exact next step based on where you are.
Got it.
And that is all for me.
Yeah. All right. So I got a couple questions in the chat that I
Sweet.
want to address. Okay. So Candace said, is it more common for women to
Hmm,
have autoimmune issues than men? Okay. So
I got one.
yes and no. Right. So here's why I say this. So yes, right? Because women often take the burden on. They often self-sacrifice, meaning they break down first, they're giving to everyone else, they're like the eternal Titanic. you know and so unfortunately we're trained as that as women to be able to support and help and all the things, right? But at the end of the day we're all human. So yes, statistically, women do show that they trend more towards immune and autoimmune issues. However, men underreport. So men don't often go to the doctor. They don't, they suffer inside. In my practice, I'd have this thing where usually I wouldn't see my male patients unless they were a husband, a reluctant husband that was being dragged in. Their friend, family member passed away, whatever, and now they're having kind of like this, wake up moment that they've got to get it together, right? Or certain body parts don't necessarily work as they used to. That those would typically be the matters to which would drive men. So we've come a long way. For me anyway, June is for everybody. June is men's health. So if you have men in your life, please encourage them to do something, anything, drink water, move their bodies, call
Sweet.
their doctors, take their blood pressures. Sometimes I wonder how these men stay alive, but so it's kind of a dual thing. Yes, but we don't really know. Let's see. Here we go. And then I ended up with autoimmune ankylosing spondylitis immediately after COVID. Yes. So here's a potential as to why, right? So ankylosing spondylitis has a lot of genetic implications to it. And so there are genetic SNPs. I can't remember those off the top of my head, right? And so again, we always learn in genetics, it's like, genetics kind of can load the gun, right? But they're not the bullet. And so um, that COVID, right, coming in, the immune system, that was the bullet, right? And so we talk about triggers, we talk about mediators, we talk about things like that. So that ankylospondylitis was kind of hanging in the breeze, right? There was other things on top of it, rest assured, but that COVID was like, boom, that was the bullet, and that's what kind of struck it through. So again, like we definitely want to advocate to get that thymosin out of jail because that one would be a real, just a game changer for so many people. And even just a glutathione and NAD, I have like amazing results just with those two alone, because people don't know what they don't know. Oh, the other thing too, the distinction with the liver from women to men, for autoimmunity, but also hormonal imbalances is our livers do a much heavier job when it comes to detoxifying our hormones. And we have so many endocrine disruptors in our environment. So again, if you struggle with fibroids, right, chronic fibroids, those are things that we especially struggle with often, especially as Black women. And it's because of our livers, it's because of genetic implications as well. And so that glutathione NAD is so powerful to really help prevent. Remember, a lot of these things, when used appropriately, can help prevent disease. That's why I don't want to wait to label something. I'm just not
Right.
into that. I would much rather, support it now, help it now, be more proactive instead of reactive. So, yeah. Cool. So, do we have
Yeah.
any other questions? Let's see.
I think
And
we got all the ones from the chat. Yeah, I think we got all the ones on the chat. Any other
And
questions before we
I've
wrap for the evening? Go ahead.
yep, there's one more. I've been told to try GLPs due to my endometriosis, but have been scared to try them. Okay. Oh, you know what's interesting? New research came out. They actually reclassified PCOS. Did you see that?
Yeah.
To what is it?
PCOM.
Yeah, it's like they added metabolic in there,
Yeah.
right? They added the metabolic implication in there. So we believe that's going to really open up peptides, especially for a lot of those particular issues. Here's the challenge with women's health, and I'm just going to be totally real with you. We are so behind.
We are.
We were not studied, literally not studied as women with medications until the late 90s. Okay. So we are behind the curve, and unfortunately, we just got doged. So words that, are under the DEI label, fill in the gap, those got canceled. So we're going to have, unfortunately, some huge gaps in population set data, right? So how does this relate to endometriosis, lady? Like, give me the bottom line. Um, I don't focus on diagnosis, right? Because things can be mislabeled all the time because medical doctors are looking at population set data. That's what they call evidence-based, is population set data. But we have subject population gaps. Okay.
Hmm.
Meaning we don't have research for everything, right? Like, I know we want to live in this ideal world, like everything's been peer reviewed and stamped with a gold letter. And, this is called the practice of healthcare.
Right.
We're all practicing. But again, it's not about labeling it, because labeling is just to diagnose it and manage it. It is not ever to heal it, transform it, reverse it, stabilize it, any of those words, right, that we can legally use, right? Instead, it's just, so endometriosis, right? We look at bacterial, we look at cortisol, we look at blood sugar, we look at blood sugar regulation, we look at insulin, we look at those functions of the body. So GLP, right? Especially again with that immune modulating effect with the trizipatide, right? Even with that glycine, right? Helping with that amino acid to help with that GI system, help with that leaky gut. There are a lot of applications that can be applied when we start to break apart the diagnosis. Right.
Right.
So when we break apart the diagnosis, what created these collection of symptoms that could be
The
called
first
this?
place. Yeah.
Right. So that's why we're looking at function, and blood sugar stabilization is a great place to start.
Yep. I have something saved in my Instagram. Whoever asked that question, if you will send me a message on Instagram, there are a couple of videos specifically on GLP-1 as it relates specifically to PCOS. Yeah, to PCOS. So I'm
Mhm.
happy. I mean, oh, you know what? It was both endometriosis and PCOS. So if you'll send me a
Mhm.
message, I'll gladly share that with you. So that way you can have a little bit of insight there as well.
Cool.
Yep.
Sweet. Let's see. Do we have any other questions? All right, groovy. We are all good for questions. So
Yes.
yeah, so I will be sending it out. We'll be sending it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we'll also be sending out the whole series. We
Yeah.
did the metabolism, we did the hormones, we did the immune system, and we'll see what's next. So,
That's all right. All right. Well, thanks, Dr. Erica. Thanks, everyone, for joining us this evening, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.